I feel the spirit moving in me. I feel the spirit moving in me.
So do you remember, those of you who were here last week, do you remember what St. Teresa of Avila's message was that we talked about? And I gave you some homework, right? As a result of that talk, I said, I want you to, what? Does anybody remember? Say what?
One thing.
One thing. It was one thing. Well, to do what?
Think on one thing.
To think on one
Or to concentrate on one.
ordinary thing. Find the spiritual truth in one ordinary thing, right? And I'm glad to see that we had overwhelming response to. Well, I practiced what I preached. You know, while I was washing dishes this week, when I'm washing the dishes, I'm watching the way the water is in the dishes, right? I was watching how gracefully and easily the water filled the cups that I was washing, right? I watched the way the soap filled the cup and the way the soap expanded out of the cup. I watched, as I filled the sink with water, I watched how the water always went to the lowest level, easily and gracefully, right? And I felt in the water the softness of it and the warmth of it. Can you relate to that? And it dawned on me that here this water is, and it's so soft, right? And yet, it can be rough, and it can wear away the strongest of stones over time. And it's like, oh, I think there's a message here. Has anyone ever heard the phrase, be like water, right? Bruce Lee often emphasizes this concept of adaptability, of fluidity, and flowingness. He often used water as a metaphor. In fact, he famously said, empty your mind. Be formless. Be shapeless, like water. Now, put water in a cup, it becomes a cup. Put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, and it becomes a teapot. Now, water can flow. It can crash. He said, be like water, my friend. A lot of people thought that was his idea, but actually, this idea is deeply rooted in the Chinese Taoist teachings that go way back to the 6th century. And Lao Tzu talked a lot about this idea of being in the flow, of being like water. You know, Taoism emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, which can be described as kind of a natural flow of the universe. It's about being in the flow. The Taoist philosophy use water as a symbol because of its qualities of flow, because of its qualities of power, and because of its qualities of softness. So this is the third talk in this series that I'm doing on ancient wisdom for an enlightened life. And we're looking, over these 5 weeks, we're looking at 5 ancient teachers who gave us practical information, practical ideas that we can apply to our lives so that we can experience the fullness of life, so that we can experience enlightenment right? So that we can become enlightened and we can become aware. And the first week we talked about Ramana Maharishi 2 weeks ago. Last week we famously talked about, as you remember, about St. Teresa of Avila. Today we're talking about Lao Tzu. And next week I'm really excited to talk about Catherine of Siena. And I have to say, for those of you who love Pima Chödrön, which I do, I was going to talk about her next week, but I started researching her and I realized, well, she's kind of your typical Buddhist. And I talk about Buddhism all the time, so I really wanted a concept that was deep and powerful and unique. And so I'll tell you a little bit more in a bit. I want to keep you in suspense for a while to see where I'm going with Catherine of Siena. And the fifth Sunday, we're going to talk about one of my favorite people, which is Rumi. And so we're going to really dive deep into each one of these and discover how can we use these principles in our life. Now, Lao Tzu was an ancient Chinese philosopher and writer who lived in the 6th century BC. He's the author of Tao Te Ching, and which is you probably know, is a fundamental text of Taoism. And according to legend, Lao Tzu was the keeper of the record keeper for the Zhou dynasty. And he became kind of disillusioned with all of that. And so he left. And when he left, people said, "Oh, Lao Tzu, you have so much wisdom. Tell us, you must leave your information, your teaching somewhere." And so he wrote the Tao Te Ching. And it's an amazing, even a complex and difficult and beautiful read, because it's written very poetically and very metaphorically, very metaphysically. It's quite deep. And central to Lao Tzu's teachings is the concept of the Tao, or the way. It refers to this kind of developing, powerful force in the universe that we all can partake in if we engage our souls and our hearts into being part of this Tao, part of the oneness of everything. And so the Lao Tzu teaches about how can we get into the flow of this Tao. So one day, Lao Tzu was meditating under a tree, which he often did. And a young man came to him and said, "Master Lao Tzu, I'm looking for the Tao. Can you tell me where I can find it?" And Lao Tzu opened his eyes and looked at the young man. And he said, "The Tao is everywhere. It's in the trees, it's in the birds, it's in the wind, it's in the water, and it's in you." And the young man was confused. And he said, "But how can I find it in myself?" And Lao Tzu smiled. He said, "It's easy. Just stop looking." "But how can I find something I don't look for?" Lao Tzu laughed. The Tao is not something that can be found. It's something that is. It's already here. It's in everything. It's in everyone. All you have to do is stop looking and open your eyes. The young man thought for a moment, and then he smiled and said, "Thank you, Master Lao Tzu." With that, the young man turned away and walked away. I love this because it's a kind of a humorous story in a way, but it so typically identifies what the Tao is. You know, in unity, we might call it the Christ. It's the presence of love and light that's in everything. It's the spirit of truth. It's the power that resides in each of us that we have access to. One day, a monk approached Lao Tzu as he was meditating by the stream. What a life this guy had, right? by the stream, on the mountaintop, but he's always just kind of meditating. And to me, that really means that he's like paying attention, right? He's aware, he's in the moment. And this monk approached Lao Tzu and said, Master, can you explain the meaning of life and our place in the universe? Great question. Lao Tzu continued looking calmly at the water, and he asked the monk to sit down beside him. And he took a bowl and he scooped up some water. And he asked the monk, what do you see in the bowl? Water, replied the monk. Ah, is the water in the bowl the same as the water in the stream? The monk said, yes. Lao Tzu continued, so too are we like vessels of eternal energy in the stream. Rocks and obstacles that are in the stream can appear to block us or to hinder us, to stop our flow. However, we can be flexible like the water and be undisturbed by them and simply move around them on our merry way. This is the meaning of life and our place in the universe. The monk gazed at the stream in awe. In that moment, he captured Lao Tzu's wisdom. And he realized that life is about being flexible. It's about being in the flow. And the Tao is that flow that we get to be in. And that simple bowl became Lao Tzu's emblem for his teaching. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, saw profoundly into the flow underlying all life. He taught that in reality, there are no obstacles. There are only illusions of barriers created by our minds. According to Lao Tzu, our tendency to categorize the world into artificial dualities, such as easy, hard, good and evil, self and other, cause dichotomy that cause suffering. Because we tend to create obstacles out of things that aren't obstacles. When we can simply flow down the river of the Tao or of life and around the obstacles in our life. That we don't have to get all upset because we run into challenges. We don't have to get afraid because something looks different to us. We can see it as an opportunity and just allow ourselves to move around it and through it without creating suffering within ourselves. Kind of reminds me of a Maui beach, right? These amazing waves are crashing against the rocks, bursting up with such beautiful energy. And the water doesn't care. The water doesn't stop. The rocks don't care. There's no fear. There's no doubt. There's no obstacle. It's all in the flow of life. And if we really look at the beauty of this, look at the beauty that is all around us when we are engaged in the flow. What Lao Tzu is really talking about is spiritual evolution. And I believe that's why we're part of this path, right? Because we want to engage in this evolution of thought. And the Tao is a teaching of spiritual evolution. It's about finding harmony. It's about finding harmony in our relationships. It's about finding harmony in our own mind right? Because the conflicts that we have in our mind, we tend to project out into the world on other people. And isn't that weird? The very stuff that we hold in our mind, that we're afraid of, that we're angry about, ends up showing up in our lives. Wow. And it's an illusion, right? We have an issue and we project it on people around us. Right? And think, oh, that stupid person. Oh, why did they do this? Right? And why did they do that? If everybody was just like me, wouldn't life be great? Spiritual evolution is kind of like growing up, right? When we're young, we can tend to see everything as black and white, right? And as we mature, physically, hopefully, spiritually, yes, then we start to realize that there are many areas of gray, that things aren't always what we think that they are. And we get angry, we get mad, we get fearful because of the illusions that we're creating in our own mind. What if we could just go with the flow? Realize, oh, interesting, isn't it interesting this person's mad? It's not about me. Right? I don't have to buy into it. This person's upset or angry or fearful. I don't have to buy into that. I can just be with the flow, to move down the stream of life around the rocks, over the waterfalls, and just be with it. But our ego wants to create dissonance, wants to create distance, wants to have power, perceived power, by the way, and create all this chaos when the truth of it is, it's not there. This is spiritual evolution. This is what Lao Tzu talked about. And that's the message of today, that we can stay calm. We can make mindful choices that help us stay calm inside. With practice, we can learn to replace anger with patience, fear with courage, hate with love. You know, it's kind of like training a muscle. Anybody ever trained muscles, gone to the gym, worked out, right? Well, welcome to the great workout gym of life. Right? We get to work these very same muscles all the time to work our muscles of love, to work our muscles of peace, to work our muscles of joy, and not be attached to having to show up with anger or fear or doubt. You know, spiritual evolution isn't about following rigid rules. It's a process of unfolding to be who we truly are. You know, we don't have to be anything different than who we are. Right? Your natural beingness is to be in the flow. Your spirit wants to be in the flow. Sure, you can choose to set up barriers. Sure, you can choose to get angry as you go down the river of life. But that doesn't feel too great, does it? Actually, it can feel pretty great sometimes because it feels powerful, right? You feel like, whoa, when I'm angry, I got power, right? But it's perceived power. It's weak power. So how do we apply Lao Tzu's teachings to our life? I've got a few examples. When we're working with people, be like water. Focus on recognizing each person's diverse talents, even with those with opposing styles of yours. Don't see it as a threat, just see it as an option. Focus on weaving the threads together of life rather than trying to oppose them. See relationships as an opportunity to be like water, to be free and open. And in relationships, that's really, the first one is really about working with people in general. And when we're in relationship, We want to be mindful of the dynamics that can create isolation between people. And work to move through, when your ego steps in and you start feeling angry at that person, instead of pushing them away and fighting them, step into it and say, what's going on here? How can we work this together? And make time for open communication. Listen without judgment. It is possible. Find shared purpose in your relationships and with all people. And in society, in the same way, seek common ground. And to be curious of the absolute rhetoric that divides us. Right? When you see that rhetoric showing up and divisive energy showing up, look at how can we work through this? How can I be an expression of harmony in what appears to be dissonance, to be present, to be loving, to be alive, to advocate for equality and justice? Of course. But to do that with adaptability versus rigidity. Oftentimes when we are in a challenging situation, we tend to oppose it with that same energy that we perceive, right? With anger, we're trying to push it away. If somebody has a different opinion than us, we oftentimes think that they're just wrong, right? I'm the one that's right. And I'm going to stand here and I'm going to hold my opinion until I convince that other person that they're wrong. Right? How's that work? It creates dissonance. It creates arguments. Instead, look to see how we can adopt. How can we not be so rigid? One of the practices of Lao Tzu, of course, was meditation. So we want to be like water in our meditation. Meditation is like it's the creative space where we create the way that we interact in the world. And I think the way that we meditate often is a reflection of the way that we act in the world. Right? If you don't meditate, God bless you. But because our meditation is the place where we connect with our inner self, with the Tao, with the Christ, with that inner beingness, right? And the way that we practice our meditation, I think, and I just came up with this in this creative moment, is the way that we deal with the world, right? And so what do I mean by that? So what do I mean? Anybody ever have thoughts in meditation? Right? A lot of people say, I just can't meditate because I have so many thoughts. Yeah, got it. That's all right. We all have thoughts. But the thing is, when we're meditating, is not to hang on to them. Right? To go, there goes a thought. In the same way, when we're being present in the moment, something comes up that gets us angry, we can go, interesting, anger, let it go. Fear, interesting, fear, let it go. In meditation, a thought comes up, it's a thought, let it go. Thought comes up again, it's another thought. I should be washing my car, or I should be going, here's my grocery list, let it go, right? We are training our mind about how we want to be in the world. And one of the finest ways that I've discovered is to try and be in meditation in the space between the thoughts. Right? So thought comes, let it go. Thought comes, let it go. Thought comes, let it go. And it's almost like when you do this enough, you can just focus on, I'm not thinking this thought, I'm not thinking this thought, I'm right in the middle of them. And I'm just being in the moment. So what we're doing is we're teaching ourselves how we want to be when we're awake and present in the world. So another example is in nature, to be the river. So whenever you're in nature, observe all that's around you. If you're at the beach, notice the beach, notice the mountains, notice the islands, notice the sand, notice the water, and notice how it all works beautifully together. And then to say, how can I be a part of all that? How can I so fully experience all of that, that I am that? And just breathe it in and feel it and be with it, yes? Can you feel that? 2 people said yes. I saw their heads move. But, people are saying, no, when I'm at the beach, I'm thinking about stuff. And it's like, well, can you just be at the beach and be at the beach? Right? Can you just be wherever you are and just be there? Be like water. Be like water in the cup. Be like water in the teapot. And just be present. Because we're allowing the presence of spirit to move through us, and we're teaching this unit, this mind and this body, how we want it to be. And we're always teaching it. We had a small dog with us for the last week, and it was such an interesting thing, a Shih Tzu, a really adorable Shih Tzu. And it was so fun to be with her and notice how in the moment she was, right? When we were playing with her, she wasn't thinking about her food. She certainly did afterwards, but she is just like in the moment. And isn't that what your soul desires? Right? When you're in the moment, when you're responding from this place of love, place of wisdom, place of truth, you don't have to worry about what to say or do, just to be present in that. We stand at a critical point in our lives, on Maui, in the world. And yet, the opportunity is to flow with life. I think that this moment we're in right now, as amazing as it is, for lack of a better word, I'm talking worldwide, I'm talking Maui, I'm talking consciousness on the planet. This could be humanity's finest hour. Right now, in the midst of all what looks like chaos. Though the path seems long, realize that peace and justice lie within reach. If we find ways to calm our own mind, if we find ways to swim with other people, to be an example of this in the world, we can be in this stream of wisdom and have an impact on the world. The way forward starts with living in the flow. To let compassion move through your actions. Allow integrity to channel your work. To build bridges by moving with others in a shared current. To uplift the struggling through fluid contribution. To protect the vulnerable by being the calm, effortless pool that they can float upon. Question views forcing the stream to move unnaturally. With discipline, divert the turbulence of outrage into the smooth waters of nonviolent change. Sustain optimism by aligning with the natural ebb and flow of life and be an example of that. Have faith in our human family, that we can converge into one beautiful flowing river. Hold that vision. You know, the future belongs to those who are paddling in unity. By joining hands and hearts, we can ride the waves. We can navigate the bends. And we can arrive safely ashore in a new era of humanity's shared destiny. The time to be in the flow is now, allowing life's wisdom to carry us forward. Come. Let's flow together. I am in the flow, allowing life's wisdom to carry me forward. I invite you to speak that together softly, flowingly, gently, knowing that it is your truth. Let's say it together. I am in the flow, allowing life's wisdom to carry me forward. And so it is. And let's bring our attention to the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. I invite you to close your eyes, if that's comfortable. To bring your awareness and your attention to your breath. Imagining that you are in the flow. Imagining that you are the flow. Breathing in and breathing out. Perhaps you can imagine that your life is like a river, and that you are flowing down this river. Some places the water is calm. In some places the speed of the water picks up, and you are moving with dynamic speed down the river, enjoying the beauty of the water and the area around you, be it a forest, be it on a mountain. And then you come to a place in the river where your flow seems to be blocked by boulders and rocks, areas of sand reaching out into the water that slow your journey. As you breathe in, remember that these apparent boulders, these apparent obstructions are not that. They're simply beautiful opportunities for you to swim around. And slowly and surely, your journey continues down the river. You feel the softness and the gentleness of the water. You feel your connection with all life as you realize that you are the water, you are the sand, you are the boulders, you are the sky and the trees. You are life. Breathing in and breathing out. And let's take just a moment to join together in the silence. Breathing in, letting the breath flow in and through you and out of you. And gently begin to bring your awareness back to this moment. And I invite you to open your eyes when you're ready. I invite you at this time to prepare your love offerings and your gifts for Unity on Maui. And as you hold your gifts and prepare your gifts, perhaps you can reflect on what you're going to take away from today. Probably not the thing you're going to leave with us, but reflect on how you're going to be. How can you flow like a river? What is one boulder in your life that you can flow more easily around, recognizing that it's just appears like an obstacle, and that, you know, it's so interesting. The Course in Miracles teaches that a miracle is a change in perspective, right? So when we stop seeing the things in our lives as obstacles, we treat them differently, don't we? When we realize, oh, this is really something that's here to help me, we change our perspective, we change our life, we change our thinking, we change our life. So think about what that is, and I invite you to work with that for this week, whatever that is. And if I ask you next week, right, what your homework assignment was, I expect more than, or that's what I always did in school, right? Oh, I'm reading something over here. Anyway, so as we hold our gifts and give thanks for them, let's, I'll just say this to you, those of you watching on Facebook Live today. Thank you for watching us and being with us and celebrating with us. And if you would like to donate to Unity on Maui, you can go to our website, www.unityonmaui.org, and make a safe contribution there. Thank you for that. So as we hold our gifts, let's give thanks for them, to feel the energy of gratitude and affirm our affirmation and prayer of gratitude together. Let's say it together. Through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. Namaste. So, loving Spirit, thank you for these gifts that have come to us in love. We hold them, we bless them, we give thanks for them, knowing that they're moving in and through and as this ministry and out into the world. And we behold a world that's filled with love, with light, with joy, and with peace. And so it is. Namaste. Thank you. All right, we got just a few announcements today. Let's see, the first one is that you have the opportunity, many opportunities on Sunday morning. And one of them is if you'd like to bring flowers and have them adorn our platform. These ones are our standby ones, what we use when nobody has gifted us any. And as beautiful as they are, and they last forever. Thank God for that. But you can bring flowers on a Sunday morning that won't last forever, but they will last, unless it gets really hot and steamy in here, the entire service, and then you can take them home afterward. And there's a sign-up sheet in the back, and if you sign up there for a particular date and tell us how you would like us to consider your contribution, it might be a gift, or it might want to be to recognize a friend or a relationship or anniversary or whatever it might be. You can do that in the back. And today is our annual meeting. Woo! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we made it through another year. And so every September, October, we have our annual meeting, and this is where we get to, today we get to vote on a couple new board members, and we get to approve some changes to our bylaws, which are really exciting, and you're going to have to come to the meeting to hear more about that. And the meeting is open to anyone, whether you're a member or not. If you're just curious, you love Unity on Maui, or you're just curious what's happening this year and want to hear some of our plans for the future, come and join us. It's a lot of fun, and it'd be great to have you here. Also, next week I'm offering a new member class. Some folks have come forward in the last few weeks and said, hey, I'd like to be a member of Unity on Maui. And I'm like, absolutely. And what do I get as a member, right? Isn't that where we always go, what do I get? Well, what you get is the opportunity to be a partner in this ministry, to contribute your love and your light to Unity on Maui. There is no fee for doing so. However, if you become an ongoing contributor, we can guarantee that your place in heaven is going to be a lot more Well, I don't know. Is that true? I guess I can't really guarantee that. Most of the stuff I speak from up here is true. But every once in a while, I have to give you a little BS, and that's better spirit. What is? Be like water. Just roll over. Yeah. Just roll with it. So, and I like to say that when you become Unity on Maui, what that means to me, and I hope for you too, is that you're saying that your spiritual path is important to you, and that you want and desire this community to support you on your spiritual journey. And as you know, we practice spiritual truth so that we can become enlightened and become more loving, stronger, more beautiful expressions of spirit. And that's basically what we teach. So I'd love to have you. There is a sign-up sheet in the back that says new member class, sign up, and it'll meet about 12:30 next Sunday. You can bring a lunch or go out to lunch after the service, and then we'll meet. And the class is probably about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And the test will be how you live your life, right? And we'll talk about the basic, Unity's basic understandings and truths, some of its history, of our structure here in this ministry, how our board interacts with me and our office, and it's really informative. So sign up, we'll have a lot of fun. And any joke that you bring will be metaphysically interpreted and spoken about the following Sunday. Oh, right. Oh, and Marianne is, and her husband are coming back, and they're going to be a part of our service. Robin is going to be leaving us for a month or so because she has obligations on the mainland, right? And so, so she's going to be gone for a month, and Marianne's going to be here stepping in.
Turn me on. There we go.
Say what?
I have to go trick-or-treating with my
Oh,
grandson.
that's what it is. With her grandkids, she has to go trick-or-treating.
I'm sorry, but it's kind of important.
Aren't we glad that she has her priorities straight?
And I don't know if Marianne told you, but the empanada lady thing is not happening.
Oh, I didn't know
all.
that.
Okay. It's some kind of a scheduling issue.
Shoot.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, well, it's a great event. You can either show up or not. Probably better not to at this point.
Well, there might be somebody else, but I don't know. She's gonna do something else though, so stay tuned, because.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she's not doing that. But I understand that's a great venue, and she will be doing other things there. She has been there in the past, and I'm sure she'll do it again, and we'll let you know. As soon as Robin knows, she'll let me know, and I'll let you know, because that's kind of the hierarchy of information around here.
Flow like water.
Flow like water. Breathe.
Flow like water.
I have to. It's nice when we can remind each other of these things, isn't it?
Just a little more upstream. That's all.
Is it extreme?
Upstream.
Upstream. Oh my goodness, we're in trouble. All right, so. Also, Prashante does a weekly Kundalini meditation here every Tuesday from 6 to 7:15, so you can just show up and enjoy that. And speaking of enjoying, Mike is doing a hike on October 28th. I guess that's next Saturday, I think, right, Mike? Have you got a destination for that yet? Okay, so that's Mike shaking his head there. Raise your hand, Mike, if you're interested in going for a hike. Beside that, in the moment, you will be in the flow. All right. Everything depends on the flow. Speaking of flow, this is my walk your talk, or my cliff notes for what we talked about today. And if you want to remember what we talked about tomorrow, if you want to do your homework before next week, you might want to review this before the week is up. And there's a copy on the table in the back. It's in pink. So don't go home without it, because we know who you are, where you're seated, and we're tracking you. God, I've spoken a lot of stuff that's not true today. I can't help it. It must have been that extra cup of coffee I had this morning.
Well, we're just metaphysically interpreting it. It's for
good.
our own inner wisdom.
Oh, that's so fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, get this. Can you get that?
I got it. Let's hear it.
So anyway, next week we continue our series on ancient wisdom for enlightened life. And I'm excited about this. The topic next week is owning our shadow, finding our light. So we're going to talk about what is the shadow? What do we do with the shadow? How can we transform that shadow? Or how can we embrace it and move into the light with our shadow? So I thought it'd be great to do this before Halloween, right? So if you want to wear your shadow costume, you're certainly willing to. Otherwise, we'll interpret whatever you wear as your shadow costume. Enough! I think we've had enough, for gosh sakes. All right, I think that's it. Oh, and there's a cool poster that AI created for me this week. It's kind of, wow, I love that. All right then, so is that it? Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, well, why don't we all stand? Take a deep breath. Thank you again for being here today. You are responsible for this, no matter how it looks. So let's take a breath and then pray and affirm together the prayer for protection. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. God bless you, friends. Thank you for being here.
Where